Welcome back, everyone. Today we're diving into a brand new explainer focusing on a guy who might just be the unsung hero of the 2026 Jets, the ultimate C-gap enforcer, Tim Patrick. But hey, before we get into the X's and O's, I've got a very special, verbatim introduction to read for you guys to set the stage for SBN today. Hello, my name is Alexandria Intellegio, and I am filling in for Frankie in this explainer as he is on vacation in Outer Mongolia. Welcome to FSPN. Let's get to some Jets talk. All right, let's get right down to business with this roster. You look at the New York Jets in 2026, and, Tim Patrick, he's probably not the flashiest name jumping off the depth chart. But honestly, make no mistake here, he could easily end up being one of the most underappreciated yet absolutely essential pieces of this whole puzzle. Why? Because right now, at the stage of his career, Patrick makes his living doing the dirty work, the unglamorous stuff. We're talking about those gritty, highly physical assignments that, well, they definitely don't show up on your fantasy football stat sheet, right? But they are completely essential to making an NFL offense actually function. If you want to run the ball down people's throats in the modern NFL, you need guys willing to do that dirty work. And that is exactly why the Jets brought him into the building. To really understand why he's built for this specific role, we kind of have to trace his journey. Tim Patrick's football story, man, it was never some smooth five-star path. Not even close. He actually started out at Grossmont College before transferring over to Utah. And that unconventional route, it forced him to earn absolutely everything the hard way. He entered the league as an undrafted rookie back in 2017, having to climb the ladder from the very bottom rung. This underdog grind is so crucial to his identity. It forged the physical readiness and, honestly, the mental toughness that defines his game today. Nobody handed this guy a roster spot. He had to fight tooth and nail for it by proving he could be useful in literally any way possible. And what's really fascinating is his specific college experience at Utah. Like I said, it wasn't a smooth ride. His time there was severely interrupted by injuries, but when he was healthy, wow. He showed immense value as this productive, physical receiver who could just win in heavy traffic. His final major college season was an absolute masterclass in resilience. He helped restore his draft stock and prove to NFL scouts that, yeah, he could fight through severe adversity and still produce on the field. He basically showed them he wasn't just a pass catcher. He was a tough-as-nails football player who could take a huge hit and just keep moving. So all that resilience finally paid off in Denver. Look at this number, 700. During his peak breakout years with the Broncos in 2020 and 2021, he posted back-to-back seasons with over 700 receiving yards and 5+ touchdowns. That stretch mattered immensely. It proved to the entire league that he could be far, far more than just a depth receiver hanging around on a practice squad. He showed everyone he had the raw talent to be a highly productive, trusted target in a pro offense. But as his career progressed, particularly during his time with the Detroit Lions, he really transformed into this incredibly reliable, assignment-sound veteran. He became a player who truly understood the subtle nuances of the game. We're talking spacing, leverage, and how to play seamlessly within a complex offensive system. He wasn't just relying on raw athleticism anymore, He was using his head and his years of experience to bring absolute steadiness to the receiver room. Okay, real quick, before we get into the heavy tactical breakdown of his role with the Jets, I just gotta ask, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you guys miss Frankie from Flatbush right now? Let us know in the comments below. I know, Outer Mongolia is calling his name, but I promise we're gonna keep breaking down this Jets tape just the way he likes it. All right, getting back to business here. Following his time in Detroit, he also had a really active stint with the Jacksonville Jaguars. And these recent stops proved a very specific point to the rest of the league. Even after the injuries and years battling in the trenches, he could still contribute heavily. He completely proved his worth as a seasoned role player who brings this invaluable, steadying veteran presence. Teams knew exactly what they were getting when they put Tim Patrick on the field. Now, we need to establish something. There is a massive difference between a featured star receiver who demands heavy volume and targets and a gritty role player. The Jets specifically signed Patrick to be the latter. They wanted someone who prioritizes situational football, someone who thrives on handling those unglamorous perimeter blocking assignments that basically free up the rest of the offense. It's a completely different job description from your typical primary receiver, and Patrick fits it like a glove. So let's look at how this builds the Jets' overall offensive profile. His physical traits and his veteran intangibles are just a perfect pairing. At 6'5" and 210 pounds, the guy is big-bodied and literally built to handle heavy contact. Combine that sheer size with his high situational football IQ, plus his willingness to be an assignment-sound perimeter blocker, you have a player perfectly built to spring outside runs. He raises the absolute floor of the Jets' offense just by being out there and doing all the little things right. Which brings us to the exact tactical role he was hired for, the C-gap insert blocker. So what is this? Well, it's a highly specific receiver assignment that requires the player to get down into the trenches, fit up against defenders, and literally create movement against defensive backs, or aggressively force the edge to widen to create those crucial running lanes. It is physical, it is punishing, and frankly, most wide receivers absolutely hate doing it. But Patrick's unique experience and heavy physical profile, they make him a completely natural fit for this exact assignment. And that's exactly why he fits the 2026 Jets so perfectly. He's at the exact stage of his career where this role maximizes his current strengths. He doesn't need to be a heavy volume number 1 or number 2 option anymore. Instead, he gets to serve as a smart, physical complement to the offensive line. For a team that is actively trying to build toughness and consistency in their run game, Patrick quietly embraces the physical contact that establishes that exact team toughness. Tim Patrick's entire career has been defined by patience, toughness, and steady growth. Sure, he might not lead the Jets in targets this year, but his impact, it's going to be felt on every single outside run. In today's NFL, a great blocker on the perimeter can be just as valuable as a big play receiver. So it leaves us with this final question to ponder. Will the little details of Tim Patrick's gritty C-gap work ultimately define the Jets' true offensive identity this season? It just might be the small detail that makes a massive difference all year long.